Back to the subject, because everything else is ornament, and this is substance, reaction, and the presence. Let me state it as plainly as we can bear, and then we will not be confused for the rest of the hour. Goodness isn't performed, it's revealed when you're still. You see? Be still and know that I am God. Not be busy for God, not be anxious for God, not be good for God. Be still. The moment we shift from stillness to staging, from presence to performance, we are already measuring ourselves by appearances, and we will have to keep measuring and adjusting and defending that image, and that is not integrity. That is theater. Now, the world calls moral success the management of behavior and the maintenance of a reputation. It is the trimming of words, the counting of temper victories, the careful curation of an image so that friends, church, and enemies will say, good fellow. That is the costume of virtue, the mask worn for applause or for self-approval. But the kingdom does not recognize costumes, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Might is willpower, power is technique, spirit is presence. Moral reality is not a polished self, but God revealed as the living center. And when that light breaks through, goodness moves without your performing it. Let your light so shine before men, not let your discipline so impress them. So the question that must govern this hour is not, how can I improve myself, but what sustains integrity when my willpower runs out? When your rules and your routines are asleep, what lives you? Scripture has answered it in a sentence we gloss and forget. Without me, ye can do nothing. And that is not a discouragement. It is a release. It means we may cease trying to be good by the sweat of the brow and learn instead to abide, to consent, to be so still that the vine lives the branches. Then the fruit is incorruptible because it is not your fruit. It is the life of God finding form. Therefore, our posture must be established before we take another step. Don't react to the appearances and never desire to change appearances. Never enter the case humanly. We are not here to make you good. We are here to unveil God as the living center. If harmony requires that an appearance remain as it is for a season, let it be. If it shifts, let it shift. Our business is not outcomes or sides or image. Our business is principle. Christ is the only identity. God is not a moral policeman. God is not power. God isn't mind. God isn't even soul. Nobody knows what God is, but the silence knows how to announce itself, and in that split second of contact, the burden to perform dissolves and a new order governs. This kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting. Fasting from reaction, fasting from self-improvement, fasting from the itch to adjust the picture. Prayer, not as many words, but as the surrender into stillness until the presence takes over. Call this our orientation. We will not be engineers of goodness. We will be witnesses. And the measure of our truth for the rest of this journey will be simple. As the inner contact deepens, reaction lessens, and what endures is not what we have done for God, but what God has quietly been in us. Let us begin there and refuse to be moved. Now, let us take the mask off, because the mask is exactly what exhausts you at 2 a.m. The costume of virtue is stitched with efforts and self-reminders and image management. Smile now, breathe now, count to 10 now, remember your training now. It looks fine at noon when there is coffee and applause and the body has energy for pretense. But at 2:08, when the fever spikes in the child, or the accusation lands in your inbox, or the body is wrung out and the mind is thin. The stage lights go dark and the actor forgets his lines. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. You see, willingness and weakness, both in the human picture, prove that performed goodness, the goodness that must be supervised by you, collapses at the very hour truth must stand of itself. Now watch the mechanics of it. Compliance is fear in a tuxedo. Self-talk is the schoolmaster with a ruler. Reputation maintenance is a mirror that demands endless polishing. These are human powers taking sides with your preferred image, and because they are human powers, they require monitoring, and because they require monitoring, they fail. Fatigue knocks, fear hisses, insult stings, and the old serpent of reaction rises. You are accused instantly. The brief is prepared in your defense. You are ignored instantly. A ledger opens and starts to tally who owes you notice. You are praised instantly. The hand reaches to hold the praise a little longer, to defend it against the next day's silence. In each case, do you see it? Reaction erupt. That very eruption proves the goodness was a costume. It had to be pinned to you with safety pins of self-consciousness. The ego improves itself to survive. The soul reveals itself when the ego is quiet. That is not poetry. That is moral psychology. The self that says, I will be the good one, is merely building a moat around its image. It needs admirers. It needs an enemy to contrast itself with. It needs continual inner speeches of justification. But in quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Not in slogans, not in pep talks, in the hush where you are no longer trying to be anything for anyone, where being dissolves the need for becoming. When the soul is permitted to be, there is no actor left to react. There is only presence being itself. So here is the uncompromising word, and it will set you free if you let it wound all false loyalties. If you are not willing to lose face, status, and even cherished ties for truth's sake, you are still serving appearances. If you are not willing to leave mother, brother, sister, father for my sake, do you hear that? It does not mean become unkind. It means stop worshiping the mirror of approval, even the family mirror, even the church mirror. Whosoever will save his life shall lose it. If you must save your standing, you have already lost your standing in spirit. Better to let the mask fall and be called fool for a season than to keep the costume and miss the kingdom that does not need your performance. Therefore, let us be exact. Any goodness that requires self-monitoring for stability is already set to fail. Let it fail quickly, that the true may come quickly. Don't react to the appearances, even the appearance of your own collapse. Never enter the case humanly. And when the watch reads 2 a.m., let that hour be the honest teacher. What remains without your holding it? That remainder, that residue of non-reaction, is the first hint of reality, and we will follow it. All right. Now let us come to the trap that snares earnest people, choosing a side and calling it righteousness. You are not dealing with a good side and a bad side. You are dealing with appearances inviting reaction. The moment you choose a side, your blood heats, your mind calculates, your tongue prepares speeches. You have left the center and rushed out to rescue an appearance. And in that instant, you are already defeated because your effectiveness has abandoned principle for personality. Never enter the case humanly. Don't desire to see one side or the other win, not even the side that hires you. not even the side that flatters your ideals. Our allegiance is not to outcomes, not to heroes, not to villains. Our allegiance is to spiritual law, to that invisible governance which is the only order there is. Do you remember the word, the Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath? That is our ethical reframe. Morality is not a Sabbath of rules to be worshipped. Morality is spirit governing in spirit and in truth. The hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. Not on this mountain or in that camp, not with this placard or that cause, but in the invisible, where God alone is. Cause God is not power to wield against an enemy. God isn't mind to outthink your opponent. God isn't even soul. Nobody knows what God is. So don't turn to God for anything, least of all, to get your side to triumph. Turn into God until sides disappear and principle appears. When the mind ceases to argue and the heart refuses to hate or adore an appearance, a different order begins to govern, and then effectiveness flows without struggle. Now, some will say, but surely generosity is good. Kindness is sacred. Yes and no. Generosity that binds is not good. It is control in a halo. I watched a mother purchase peace with gifts for a son who needed truth. She called it love, but her giving fastened him to immaturity. When she withdrew personality and stood in silent principle, the giving ceased to be bribe and became blessing, and the boy found work the next week. Kindness that flatters is not love. It is fear wearing a smile. I had a businessman who buttered a partner to avoid conflict. We withdrew from flattery, stood still, and let the truth of equity surface. The partnership ended peacefully, legally, cleanly. Separation can be spiritual. If that is the way harmony appears, let's have it. What therefore God hath joined together, let not man put asunder, and what God has not joined, no man can hold together with sentiment. You see the method? Refuse sides, refuse reaction, refuse to help error succeed, even when it mouths your slogans. Stand in the middle path, where we neither fear, love, nor hate any appearance, and let law be law. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Our business is not to engineer a win. Our business is fidelity to principle. When we consent to that inner government, goodness is no longer a strategy but a state. And whatever must fall, falls. Whatever must ripen, ripens, without our meddling, without our pride, without our despair. Now we come to the touchstone by which you can know in the white heat of any hour where you are standing. Faith is shown by your reaction, not by your creeds, not by your causes, not by your polished sentences about God, but by the split second when insult, temptation, or praise touches you. Do you neither fear, love, nor hate any appearance? You see, if heat rises in the chest, if the mind leaps to justify or to seize or to retaliate, that surge is the report card. Do not condemn yourself for the surge. Read it. It says, here your faith is still in appearances. All right? Then do not move. Never enter the case humanly. Don't explain. Don't defend. Don't decorate the moment with holy phrases. Let the first wave spend itself against your stillness. This is the middle path in practice. The urge will say, fix it now. Defend yourself now. Perform your goodness now. But you will look it in the eye, and you will stand. Be not afraid. It is I. Hear that in the disturbance itself. The wind on Galilee was loud, but the voice within it was louder. Christ did not argue with the water. He revealed dominion by non-reaction. And then action was simple. So in the instant of provocation, refuse to fear the roar. Refuse also to love it or to hate it. Call it an appearance and leave it without sanction. When you neither bow to it nor battle it, you unmask it, and it begins to dissolve for want of your belief. Now here is your practical cue, and it will become your sacrament. In the charged moment, allow one full breath, slow, unhurried, down to the soles of your feet. Turn inward. No words at first. Be a door held slightly ajar. Wait for the click. You know, the click. It is that fractional yielding when presence takes the initiative, and you are no longer the one managing the scene. If the click does not come, wait one more breath. This kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting. Fast from reaction, pray by silence. After the click, whatever you do will not be yours. It will be principle announcing itself as word or as quiet or as a simple, clean no. Then your speech will be yea, yea, nay, nay, not embroidered, not defended. Non-reaction, do you see, is both proof and practice. It is the evidence of integrity because only contact can still the animal of self-preservation. And it is the method of integrity because only stillness lets God governance take the field. You are not to become cold. You are to become clear. You are not to become passive. You are to become principled. When praise comes, let it pass through without building a throne. When blame comes, let it pass through without building a defense. When temptation comes, let it pass through without building a drama. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. If today you fail and react, very good. You have seen the spot. Don't react to the appearance of failure. Withdraw again. Sit 5 minutes tonight with no purpose but contact. Forget even the truth you know until the hush gathers and says, then tomorrow, watch for one breath more than yesterday. Let maturity bring to light. In this way, reaction dwindles, governance increases, and integrity ceases to be your achievement and becomes your atmosphere. All right? Deeper yet. Because if we stop with non-reaction as a technique, we have merely traded one costume for a subtler costume. Nobody, by taking thought, can contact God. Take no thought for your life. Nobody, by arranging ideas, even true ideas, touches the living center. God isn't mind. God isn't even soul. Nobody knows what God is. Do you see that? The mind cannot hold God as a concept. The soul cannot define God as an object. No man hath seen God at any time. And yet presence announces itself. And when it does, the scene is governed from a level not accessible to thought. Then goodness appears not because we performed it, but because God was God. Now let me shock you a little, so we can be rid of a superstition that clings like ivy. Don't turn to God for anything. God is not a power to deploy against the trouble, not a wand we wave over evil. There is only God. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. I am the Lord, and beside me there is none else. If there is only God, there is no second something to be overpowered. The moment you try to get God to do something to an appearance, you have set up to God and the thing, and you are back in warfare. Don't react to the appearance, and don't try to change the appearance. Never enter the case humanly, not even with holy artillery. Rest in the one. It is the spirit that quickeneth. The flesh profiteth nothing. When you stand in one, the many dissolves without argument. What, then, is our method? There must come a split second of silence, just that, before word, before wish, before truth statements, before any desire to be rid of a condition. Forget even the truth, Enter into thy closet. And when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret. Close the door on your brilliant theology. Close it on the need to fix. Close it on your eagerness to be spiritual. Be a door held slightly ajar and wait. My sheep hear my voice, not the voice that you manufacture, not the voice that repeats yesterday's revelation, but the I that announces itself as presence, the click. If it takes 30 seconds, wait 30. If it takes 3 minutes, wait 3. This kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting. Fast from concepts. Pray by silence. Here is the distinction that ends 1,000 failures. Concepts about love produce performance. Contact with love produces goodness without self-reference. When you hold concepts, you begin to act loving, and you watch yourself acting loving, and you seek a receipt for having acted loving. The actor returns. But when love is present, really present, patience appears without counting breaths. Generosity moves without an inner bookkeeper. Truth speaks without edge and without fear. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Fruit, not effort. Fruit grows because the life of the tree is in it. So your integrity ripens because I, at the center, live the branches. Without me, ye can do nothing. And with me, you need do nothing to make goodness. You only need to abide. Therefore, let the inner habit be established now. Withdraw. Be still. Empty out, even of spiritual ideas, until presence takes the initiative. Then whatever ensues will be principled and effortless, and your measure will be the same as before. The absence of reaction, the absence of self-consciousness, the absence of pride in doing well. Presence, not precept. Birth's incorruptible goodness. Let that be our confidence, and let it be our simplicity. Now let us take the thorn out of your flesh and blood thinking and name it for what it is. Impersonal belief. This has nothing to do with this person. This is a universal belief operating impersonally, rage contagion that rides headlines and algorithms, lust marketing that parades images to sell a story of emptiness, status hunger that whispers, you are what they measure. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers. Yes, but do you see that those powers have no law in God to support them? They are mesmerism. They borrow our fear and our fascination and living on that borrowed breath, pretend to be something. Right now, I nullify any seeming effect of this universal belief, not by might, not by argument, but by withdrawing my belief and standing in the one. There is only one power. Hi, what does this mean when your son shouts, when your body heats, when your eyes catch the bait on the screen? First, don't react to the appearance. Never enter the case humanly. Don't accuse the person, and don't excuse the person. Both are the same trap because both make a person out of an impersonal claim. We are not blaming and we are not boasting. We are depersonalizing, you see, and returning to principle. Hear the Master on the cross. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That is not indulgence. That is spiritual vision. He refused to make persons out of a universal hypnosis. Sin shall not have dominion over you. Why? Because there is no law to enforce it. The law of the Spirit of life in Christ Jesus hath made me free from the law of sin and death. Law of spirit, yes. Law of sin, no law. Only belief. So practice the simple inner move. In the instant of provocation, say within yourself quietly, not as a battle cry. This has nothing to do with me or with him. This is the universal belief of rage, lust, status, claiming a moment. There is only one power. Error has no law to support it. Right now, I nullify any seeming effect of this universal belief. Then be still. Wait for the click. If a word is given, speak it without heat. If no word is given, keep your peace. The result will not be your triumph. It will be the loosening of a hypnotic tie. Compulsion begins to sigh and release when it is seen as nobody's nature. I have watched a man tormented by late-night scrolling discover in one quiet week that the hook was not his desire at all. It was a market's whisper to an ancient herd impulse. We named it impersonal, stood in the one, and the fever cooled without a fight. I have watched an office where status, hunger drove cruelty soften, not because a manager scolded, but because one consciousness refused to join the worship of rank. The atmosphere lost its glamour. Perfect love casteth out fear. Love as presence, not as performance. This is your relief from blame and bravado alike. You are not to carry shame, and you are not to carry pride. You are to carry silence until principle governs. Then goodness no longer needs your fist on the reins. The grip dissolves because the rider has been unmasked as empty air. Let it be impersonal and let it be lawless. And you will watch day by day, not judging your demonstration. Compulsions falling away like old leaves, without struggle, without speeches, without a story to defend. All right, let us bring it down now to the floor where life burns our fingers if we touch it humanly. Marriage, marketplace, and the media storm. Never enter the case humanly. Never give human advice. We stand with principle until spiritual harmony shows itself, and we are willing to let that harmony take any form. Tenderness renewed, separation made clean, a contract secured, a contract dissolved, a headline cooled, a silence kept. Don't react to the appearance. Don't take sides. Christ is the only identity. First, marriage. A woman wrote me out of an agony of jealousy, night visions, phone checks, the whole torment. She wanted counsel. Should I confront? Should I forgive? You see the trap sides, strategies, theater. We gave no advice. We kept vigil. Charity envieth not, Scripture says, and where envy screams, ownership is worship. So we sat in the night, fasting from every picture, repeating no truth, waiting for the click. Presently the sense of possession, the claim that one soul can own another, broke like mist in sun. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Liberty, not license. Liberty to be truthful, to be whole. Within a week, I heard 2 reports. In one, after quiet hours and a simple, unheeded word, tenderness returned like rain, and the household breathed. In the other, after the same vigil, a peaceful separation unfolded. No warfare, no theft, no slander, only lawful fairness. Which was better? Neither. Harmony took its form. Our business was principle, not outcome. Next, the marketplace. A man in procurement faced the quiet bribe, the envelope that arrives as a favor, and the deadline that threatened his job if he refused. He wanted a technique to win the deal and keep his soul unspotted. No sides, I said. Not even your side. Don't turn to God to fix a contract. Turn into God until fear of loss has no worship in you. We sat. Man shall not live by bread alone, and certainly not by kickbacks. In the hush, The dread slackened. The hunger to secure the picture weakened. He declined the favor without speeches. The first deal died that week, protection, not punishment. And to his own surprise, a month later, a cleaner supplier appeared with terms that saved the firm more than the bribe would have bought. Another case. The bribe was refused, and the original party repented of their own scheme and offered fair terms. Outcomes differ. The governance within must be the same. Silence, integrity, willingness to let God have its perfect work. Lastly, media outrage. The pile-on had begun. A local teacher was dragged through a digital street, and a circle of parents begged me for statements, for a rally, for a holy hashtag. I said no. Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. We formed a small company of quiet 10 families who, for 72 hours, fasted from all posting, all prying, all heat. We treated the Führer as a universal belief in contagion, not as persons to adore or destroy. We held to one. By the 4th day, the temperature dropped. The rumor met fact. Some who had shouted quietly deleted their words. No victory parade, no defeat, only air returning to lungs. Another time, the storm did not end quickly, but our circle kept peace, burned no bridges, and when the dust settled, we had neighbors left to love. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, but it shall not come nigh thee, not because we fought, but because we would not feed the fire. Do you see the golden thread? Marriage, marketplace, media, different pictures, one law. We refuse personalities. We choose silence. We wait for the click, and we permit harmony to take its shape. Don't look at your demonstration day by day. Let patience have her perfect work. Never enter the case humanly. Stand in principle and watch conditions shift not by your engineering, but by governance that was always present, now unopposed. All right, now that we have watched conditions yield to principle, let us be very simple and very exact about the steps you can take, not to make God act, but to stop preventing what already is. We will call it a step ladder, though the ladder ends where ladders end on a still roof. Do you see? The rungs are not powers. They are releases from powers. Take them as a practice, not as magic. And do not judge your demonstration day by day. Let maturity bring to light. First, name the universal belief and declare its lawlessness. You feel the itch to polish your image, the squeeze of scarcity in the gut, the heat of borrowed outrage climbing your spine. Don't call it me. Don't call it them. Say within, this is the universal belief in image management, scarcity, contagion of rage, claiming a moment. It has no law in God to support it. There is only one power. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. And if it is not flesh and blood, it is not person. Right now, I nullify any seeming effect of this universal belief. Then be still. Don't argue. Don't react. Name it impersonal. Remove your fear and your fascination. Let it starve. Second, drop your theological machinery. Don't turn to God to do something to an appearance. God is not a tool. God is not power against power. God isn't mind. God isn't even soul. Nobody knows what God is. Forget even the truth, you know. When you throw statements like stones at a problem, you set up to your truth and an error to be beaten, and you are back in warfare. Take no thought for your life. Stop pushing outcomes with holy words. Close the book. Close the mouth. Close the inward hurrying. Third, relinquish personal righteousness. Release the wish to look good, to be seen as the noble one, or to make someone else look bad so that you may shine. Whosoever will save his life shall lose it. Let that life go, the curated life, the performative virtue. Never enter the case humanly, not even to manage your halo. If separation is the way harmony appears, let's have it. If apology is called for, let it be clean and without theater. If silence is called for, let it be without sulk. Christ is the only identity. Fourth, prayer and fasting. This kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting. Fast from all statements, from self-talk, from fixing impulses. Pray by silence. Enter into thy closet. Shut the door on ideas about God, and wait for the click. One breath, then another, no purpose but presence. My sheep hear my voice. If no voice, abide the hush. If a whisper, take it as law. Do not hurry the birth. Do not monitor the contractions. Fifth, abide. Act only from the rested center. If nothing moves, don't move. If the move comes, it will be effortless and clean. Yea, yea, nay, nay. No embroidery, no defense. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Let patience have her perfect work. Results, leave them. Timing, leave it. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. When you abide, governance replaces self-management. Goodness appears as fruit, not as effort. This is the latter. Name and nullify the impersonal claim. Drop the machinery. Surrender the image. Fast and be silent until the click. Abide and let action be given. Do this quietly, daily, and watch without watching for the old reflexes to loosen, for reaction to thin, for a different government to take its rightful place. Be not afraid. It is I. All right, now let us stop peeking at the tree. Don't look at your demonstration day by day. Fruit does not ripen under inspection. The gardener does not tug at the bud to hurry it. He tends the soil. He keeps his hands off the blossom, and he trusts the season. First the blade, then the ear, after that the full corn in the ear. Do you see? If you keep measuring, you are back in reaction, back in fear, back in the human will to make God perform. He that believeth shall not make haste. Faith stands still and lets maturity bring to light. Saul of Tarsus did not go from flash of revelation to public ministry in a week. Years of inner reformation before visible reformation. He had to unlearn his zeal as performance before his words could be spirit and life. So with you, you have had a click, a hush, perhaps a healing, and immediately the human mind wants a banner, a blog, a crusade. No. Be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waiteth for the precious fruit of the earth. The Lord's coming is not a calendar date. It is the emergence of governance within, and that arrival is never late and never hurried. Now about outcomes. And let us be very plain. If the one that engaged you wants to lose, that's his business. Your interest is only in bringing forth a spiritual activity. You are not hired by a side. You are engaged by principle. In an arbitration I once sat through, one party cherished its grievance like a relic. They preferred the heat to the healing. We did our work in silence. We refused reaction. We let law be law. The human verdict did not go their way, and still the work was perfect, because the only victory sought was the cessation of warfare in consciousness. Months later, the very loss cleared the field for a better order to appear. Do you see how this frees you? You can tell the truth, Refuse the bribe. Keep your peace in the storm without the secret bargain that God must produce the picture you prefer. This is the end of moral reform projects as panic and parade. No crusades. No breathless counting of statistics. Consent to ripening. When presence governs, change appears without residue. No gloating. No bitterness. No scars from your striving. Let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. Wanting nothing means not waiting with a stopwatch. It means this: my times are in thy hand. The only measure you watch is your reaction thinning, your speech simplifying, your willingness increasing to let God have its perfect work. In due season we shall reap if we faint not. Fainting is not the body dropping. Fainting is the heart growing impatient and seizing the wheel. Don't seize it. Keep to the quiet rule. Stand still inwardly. Act only as given. Release the harvest to the husbandman. We do not engineer goodness. We consent to its ripening on divine timing. And as we consent, governance replaces effort. Fruit appears on the branch. And no one can say how only that in the silence, God was God. Be not afraid. It is I. All right. Let us make it plain enough to live and simple enough to hold in the dark. Here is the quiet rule, and you will keep it not as law, but as love. Negative first, because restraint creates room for spirit. Don't react to the appearances. Never desire to change appearances. Never enter the case humanly. Not in the kitchen, not in the boardroom, not on the glowing screen. When the picture rises, call it an appearance. Take your hands off it. Take your opinions off it. Take your righteousness off it. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. In standing still, you deny error your breath. In stillness, appearances lose your worship. Now the positive, the feast. Be still in Christ all through the day. 3 deliberate pauses each hour. Yes, make them 10 breaths of no asking, no fixing, no shaping. 10 breaths that say within, here I am. Father, no words necessary. Be still and know that I am God. Let those pauses become the punctuation marks of your day, the commas where spirit takes the sentence. If a thought intrudes, do not wrestle. Let it float past like a leaf on a brook and return to the hush. The pauses are not techniques. They are openings. My sheep hear my voice, not in the noise, but in the little silences you consecrate. Keep vigil morning and evening, 10 to 15 minutes before the world climbs on your back and after the world lets go of your coat. Close the door. Don't bring your shopping list of virtues or your catalog of troubles. Enter the closet and shut the door of lips, of mind, of memory, until the inner air clears. Once a week, lengthen the sitting, an hour if you can, or until the inward certainty says, it is I. No visions required, no heat, no proof, only that quiet arrival which needs no witness. In thy silence I shall come to you. When heat breaks in upon you at noon, and the chest tightens and the old animal crouches to leap, do one simple thing. Mentally step aside. Father, glorify thyself. If you prefer the Master's words, Father, glorify thy name, then wait. If no word comes, remain still. Don't pick up the reins. Don't perform goodness. If a word comes, it will be few and free of self. Yea, yea, nay, nay, and your action will be clean. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. This kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting. Fast from reaction, pray by silence. Remember this. We are not engineering character. We are consenting to governance. Let God have its perfect work. Let maturity bring to light. If today you fail and flare, do not react to the failure. Return to the pauses. Keep the vigils. Keep the weekly fast from words until the hush says, I, day by day, the grip loosens, the theater dims, and goodness appears as fruit on a branch that simply abides. Make silence your dwelling, and goodness will reveal itself without your trying. Be not afraid. It is I.